Hello, everybody. Bigfoot Mr. Rob here. At the time of this recording, it's 10:34 p.m. Friday night, July 19th. Getting this out a little late. Most of you will probably see this Saturday. I think this is a cool email I got from this young lady named Emily. This was something that is spoken through her great-grandmother's eyes several decades ago, which she had penned, which reached Emily a couple of years ago, which she had to decipher and go through and type it out, trying to make heads or sense of this. And so I was reading it, and I'm thinking, well, I don't know if I want to do this, but until I read the story, so I thought it was worth sharing for you guys. Hope you enjoy it. It's about skinwalkers. This lady, Jean, was friends with the Navajo tribe, and her friends back in the day told her that these were skinwalkers. These Navajo First Nations told her that this is what her experience was. So I thought, well, why not? I'll share it. I hope you guys enjoy it. Subscribe to Bigfoot Mr. Rob if not already. Thanks to all of you that have. So I'm just going to get on with this. And she starts with an excerpt from a book. And the book is from, really quickly here, this is from, I got to scroll to find it. This is from Joanne Teller, 1997, The Navajo Skinwalker and Related Phenomenon. And she felt it was important to share this excerpt from the book before I get on with the actual story. And I thought it was cool, too. It's very informative. Is the Navajo Skinwalker the same as the white man's werewolf? Yes, if the Navajo witch wears the skin of a wolf. But Navajo witches can mimic any animal they choose, not just the wolf. They can be a cat, a coyote, a dog, a bear, whatever the Navajo witch wants it to be. The Navajo witches pick their skins for the type of job they plan to do. The coyote skin is for high speed, accurate sense of smell, and the acute agility. The bear skin is for brute strength. However, the bear is not as fast as the coyote. Along with their new abilities, the Navajo skinwalkers still retain their full mental capabilities. If the Navajo witch is a fairly or highly intelligent person, when he or she changes into a skinwalker, they carry that intelligence with them, and you have a very dangerous opponent. Unlike the Wolfman, the Skinwalker will use their whole bag of tricks: mind control, disease, and immobilization of power. And again, that's an excerpt from the Navajo Skinwalker Related Phenomenon by Joanne Teller, 1997. So I thought that was a nice tidbit to include before I get on with this. I'm going to get on with this. A scene through the eyes of Jean, passed on to, I believe this to be her great-granddaughter, Emily. She goes on. All of her life, Jean has seen things, heard things, and felt them. Born into a family of sensitives, this was rather normal. In my family, you were considered odd if you didn't experience abnormal things, Jean goes on to say. We never talked much about our experiences or our feelings about them. We just accepted them as normal, which, in fact, to us they are. But nothing could have proved her family or prepared her family for what they encountered on a dark, desolate road in Arizona some 25 years ago. It's a mysterious and traumatizing event that haunts them to this day. Again, way back when, you guys. Jean's family moved from Wyoming to Flagstaff, Arizona in the early 70s, shortly after high school and her graduation. Her father, mother, and her younger brother took a road trip back to Wyoming in the family pickup truck. The trip was a vacation to visit with friends in and around their old hometown. The only member of the family not present was her older brother, who was stationed in the Army in Fort Bragg, North Carolina. The course along the Route 163 took them through the Navajo Indian Reservation and through a town of Kayenta, just south of the Utah border, and the magnificent Monument Valley Navajo Tribal Park. Anyone who has lived in Arizona for any length of time knows that the Indian Reservation can be a beautiful, if harsh place for non-natives. Many strange things happen out there, Gene says. Even my friend, a Navajo, warned us of traveling through the reservation, especially at night. Along with the warning, however, Gene's Native American friend blessed the family, and they went on their way. The trip to Wyoming was uneventful, but the trip back to Arizona along the same route more than justified the warning for Francis. Typo she gave me from Gene's friend. It still gives me goosebumps, she says. To this day, I have major anxiety attacks. When I have to travel through the North Country at night, I avoid it at all costs. It was a warm summer night, about 10 o'clock, when the family's pickup was headed south on 163, about 20 to 30 miles from the town of Kayenta. It was a moonless night on this lonely stretch of road, so pitch black. It was so pitch black that they could only see just a few feet beyond the headlights. So dark that closing their eyes actually brought relief from the phantomless blackness. They had been driving for hours with Gene's father at the wheel, and the passengers had long ago settled into the quiet. Gene and her father sandwiched her mother in the truck's cab, while her brother enjoyed the night air in the back of the pickup. Suddenly, Gene's father broke the silence, and he says, "We have company." Gene and her mother turned around and looked out the black slider window. Sure enough, a pair of headlights appeared over the crest of a hill. They disappeared as the car went down, then reappeared. Gene commented to her father that it was nice to have company on this stretch of road. If something went wrong, neither vehicle and its passengers would be alone. Thunder began to rumble from the vast, clouded sky. The parents decided that their son should come into the cab before he got soaking wet from any rainfall that might fall. Gene opened the slider window, and her little brother crawled in, squeezing between her and her mother. Gene turned to close the window and again noticed the headlights from the following car. "They're still behind us," her father said. "They must be going either to Flagstaff or Phoenix. We'll probably meet up with them in Canada when we stop to fuel up." Gene watched as the car's headlights crested another hill and began its descent until it disappeared. She watched for them to reappear, and she watched and continued to watch. They never reappeared. She told her father that the car should have crested the other hill. Again, it had not. "Maybe they slowed down," he suggested, "or pulled over." That was possible, but it just didn't make sense to Gene. Why in the hell would a driver slow down, or worse yet, stop at the bottom of a hill in the middle of the night? With nothing around for miles and miles, it was odd. Gene asked her father, "Do you think they'd want to keep sight of the car in front of them in case anything happened?" "People do weird stuff when they're driving," her father replied. So Gene kept watching, turning around every few minutes to check for those headlights, but they never did reappear. When she turned to look one last time, she noticed that the pickup was slowing down. Turning back to look out the windshield, she saw what they were rounding. She saw that they were rounding a sharp bend in the road, and her father had slowed the truck to about 50 miles an hour. And from that moment, time itself seemed to slow down for Jean. The atmosphere changed somehow, taking on a otherworldly quality. Jean turned her head to look out the passenger window when her mother screamed and her father cried out, "Jesus Christ, what the hell is that?" Jean didn't know what was happening, but one hand instinctively reached over and held down the button for the door lock, and the other tightly grabbed the door handle. She braced her back against her small brother and held firmly onto the door, still not knowing quite why. Her brother was now yelling, "What is it? What is it?" Her father immediately flipped on the interior cab light, and Jean could see that he was petrified. "I have never seen anything like this in my entire life," as Jean would say. Not even when he came home from his tours in Vietnam, or when he came home from special assignments, or not even when his house was firebombed. So I'm guessing this father of Jean's was some military guy, eh? Moving on. Jean's father was as white as a ghost. She could see the hair on the back of his neck standing straight out like a cat's, and so was the hair on his arms. She could even see the goosebumps on his skin. Panic was filling the small cab. Jean's mother was so frightened that she began shouting in her native Japanese in a high, squeaking voice as she frantically wrung her hands. The little boy just kept saying, "Oh my God." As the pickup sped around the bend in the road, Jean could see that the shoulder dropped off into a deep, deep ditch. Her father slammed on the brakes to prevent the truck from swerving into the ditch. As the pickup was slowing to a stop, something leapt out of the ditch at the side of the road, or at the side of the truck, excuse me. Now Jean can clearly see what had started this entire panic. It was black and hairy. The eye level matched up with the passengers in the cab. If this was a man, it was like no man Jean had ever seen. Yet despite its monstrous appearance, whatever this thing was, it wore man's clothing. It had on a white and blue checkered shirt and long pants. I think they're jeans, Jean says. Its arms were raised over its head, almost touching the top of the cab. So this is pretty tall, everybody. This creature remained there for a few seconds, looking into the pickup, and then the pickup sped past. Jean could not believe what she had seen. It looked like a hairy man or a hairy animal in man's clothing. But it didn't look like an ape or anything like that. Its eyes were yellow, and its mouth was wide open. Time seemed frozen and distorted in this moment of fantastic horror. It was all over within a few minutes. The headlights, her little brother coming to the cab, and this thing. By the time the family reached Kenyatta for gas, they had finally calmed down. Jean and her father climbed out of the pickup and checked the side of the truck to see if the creature had done any damage. They were surprised to see that the dust on the side of the truck was undisturbed, and so was the dust on the hood and roof of the truck. In fact, they found nothing out of the ordinary. No blood, no hair, nothing. The family stretched their legs and rested at Kanata for about 20 minutes. The car that had been following them never did show up. It's as though the car simply vanished. They drove to Flagstaff with the cab light on and the doors securely locked. Gene goes on to say, I wish I could say this was the end of the story, but it's not. A few nights later, around 11 o'clock at night, Jean and her brother were awakened by the sounds of drumming. They looked out his bedroom window into the backyard, which was surrounded by a fence. At first, they saw nothing but the forest beyond the fence. Then the drumming grew louder, and 3 or 4 men appeared behind the wooden fence. It looked like they were trying to climb the fence, but could not quite manage to get their legs up over the high entrance and swing over. Unable to get into the yard, the men began to chant. Jean was so scared she slept with her little brother late that night with the lights on. Sometime later, Jean sought out her Navajo friend, hoping she could offer some explanation for these strange incidents. She told Jean that it was a Skinwalker, that they had tried to attack her family. Skinwalkers are creatures of Navajo legend, witches that can shapeshift into animals. That a Skinwalker attacked them was not quite all that unusual. Jean's friend told her as if it had been waiting a long time. She also mentioned that Skinwalkers normally do not bother non-natives. Jean took her friend back by the fence where she had seen the strange men trying to climb it. The Navajo woman considered the scene for a moment, then revealed that 3 or 4 Skinwalkers had indeed visited their home. She said they wanted her family, but could not gain access because something was protecting the family. Jean was astonished. Why, she asked. Why would the Skinwalkers want her family? Your family has a lot of power, the Navajo woman said, and that they wanted it. They wanted the power. Again, she reiterates, Skinwalkers normally do not bother non-natives, but she believed that they wanted the family enough for the power they allegedly possessed. Later on, she blessed the perimeter of the property, the house, the vehicles, and of course, the family. We haven't been bothered by the Skinwalkers since the blessing, but I wonder what indeed did happen. Why the Skinwalkers think that we possess this power that they seeked. Well, you guys, there you have it. I had no idea. I mean, according to this story, this encounter, this experience, I did not know that Skinwalkers only attacked Native American folks or Navajo folks. First I heard that. I thought it was an interesting story nonetheless. I hope you enjoyed it. Like, share, subscribe to Bigfoot Mr. Rob on YouTube. Saturday night, live, midnight. That's tomorrow, because today's Friday. Now it's about 10:53 my time, Eastern Standard Time. We're on. Myself, Krista, Brandy, and Monica. We have a fun show set up for you for late night with BMR. I hope you like this. Like, share, subscribe. And until next time, I am, of course, BMR.